Okay, so I am looking at page 392, the Pythagorean relationship. So the big thing about that is you have to remember that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are interchangeable. It doesn't matter where they go, but c is the hypotenuse, and it is across from the right triangle. So if I'm looking at example 1, okay? I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse. If I draw a right triangle, in order to find the hypotenuse, I see this little square here, which means 90 degrees. If I just draw a dotted line from that top of the square right there, it's going to hit into the hypotenuse. Okay, and the hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angles, and it's always by itself in the equation. Okay, so I am given, in example 1, I'm giving 2 lengths of a triangle, and the lengths are 3 and 4. I'm asked to find the hypotenuse. So they drew the picture for you, but I could draw it on my own because I know that legs are going to be here and here. Now, if you don't know that, that's okay, because you could just draw a right triangle, put the box in, go straight across. This is the hypotenuse. This is what you're looking for. These are A and B in either order. So one of these is 3 and one of them is 4. I want to find this one, the hypotenuse. And I used X just because it's the generic unknown. But if you'd prefer, I could call it C because it is in the C position. So now using the formula, I'm going to say A squared, 3 squared, plus 4 squared has to equal c squared. All right, so 3 squared, 9, because that's 3 times 3. And 4 squared, 4 times 4, 16. And that's going to be equal to c squared. So if I add these two together, I get 25. Now, everything has an undoing. Adding has subtracting, multiplying has dividing. So squaring had to have an undoer, and it is the radical. It's the square root of 25. And when you take the square root on this side, the square root and the square cancel each other out just to give you c. So on your calculator, there's a square root button. If you can't find it, let me know, and I will be able to show you where that is. But basically, you're asking yourself, what 2 numbers multiplied together give me 25? And it has to be the same number, so it's 5. Okay. Now, the next kind of problem is the more difficult kind of problem. And that is the word problem. So when I read this, it says, example 2, if John places a 13-foot ladder 3 feet from the base of the wall, how far up the wall to the nearest tenth of a foot? So they drew the picture for us. Here is the right angle. I go straight across. That's the hypotenuse. So that means this is C. This could be A or B. It doesn't matter what you choose. So if you want to write your formula for example 2, you're going to write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A, right there, 3 squared. B squared, I don't know. And c squared is 13 squared. All right, so now I have an algebraic equation with 1 unknown. So this is good. I can solve this. 3 squared is 9. Some people put it in parentheses. It's not necessary, but it is helpful. B squared, I don't know. And 13 squared is 169. That's 13 times 13. So now I have to subtract 9 from both sides because I want the variable by itself. So once again, I'm undoing. I've got a squared, so I have to do the opposite. I have to take the square root. So B equals the square root of 160. So if you are using a scientific calculator, it should be up in the very top row, square root. And try like an easy number first, just so you can make sure you know how it works. Because sometimes you put in 25 and then hit the square root to get the answer. The answer should be 5. Other times you put in square root and then put in 25 to get the answer. So I don't know which way your calculator works. I always have to just like check it with something that I know. So those are the basics. Now, there's a couple little tricky things. And that is, they have special proportions. A couple of triangles have special proportions. So one of them is the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now, the reason that this one is special is because if this angle opens up the same amount here, and this angle opens up the same amount here, these two sides have to be equal. So these can both be A if you like. And then this is C because it's across. So they're telling you that these sides are related by X, X, and the square root of 2. And then the right triangle has a 30, 60, 90 triangle, which is like the traditional triangle that I see most of the time. That means that across from the 30-degree angle would be X. Across from the 60-degree angle would be X times the square root of 3. And across from the 90-degree angle is 2x. So as like a memory trick, I used to always say it's 1, 2, 3. But of course, it's the square root of 3. It's not really just 3. But that's just how I try to remember that one. I also feel like you might not need to, that you don't need to memorize that because you can just figure it out. All right, so let's take a couple of problems. Let's try, it says to the nearest 10th. If you do 1, the sides are 8, 8, and they want to know what the hypotenuse is. So if you're using this formula, you would know if these two sides are equal, that these two angles are equal. So this is going to be x, x, x times the square root of 2. I feel like that's a lot of memorizing that you don't really need to know, because you could just live with a squared plus b squared equals c squared and let it work, right? So one of these sides is a, one of these sides is b, and you're looking for c squared. So 8 squared is 64, and then 64 again. And that's, I don't have a calculator up here, so I'm going to do it by hand. I thought that was 128. So then I would put in my calculator the square root of 128. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I'm going to look it up real quick in the back of the book. Page 393. It's 11.3. Okay. I'm going to try one more for you. Let's try number 6, because that's the harder type. They told you one leg was A. A was you didn't know. B was 5, and C was 18. So you're going to say a squared plus 5 squared equals 18 squared. And I did tell you I didn't have a calculator, so I'm going to have to do this real quick. Multiply this. Okay, when I squared 18, I got 324. 5 squared is 25, and that's a squared. So remember, I want to get the a by itself. So I have to subtract the 25 from both sides. And I get 299. And I have to take the square root of 299. Which apparently is, with a calculator, 17.3. Okay, so the most important things to remember here is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C has to be by itself. It is always the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse you find by drawing a diagonal across the box. If you need some more help, please let me know. Bye.